Oh boy. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Keep watching this. This is a V1 Ripsqueak Run Cam Hybrid 1504s on 3.5-inch biblades. Oh man, I'm still not ready. We're just gonna go in. Hello, friend. Oh man, everything's wrong. Hello, friends. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Captain Unprepared. Welcome to the only live stream where you won't get timed out for no reason. That's not really true. You're at any moment you could be timed out for any number of possibly obnoxious or wrong or just plain unusual reasons. Welcome to Sunday Jib Jabs. Sunday, no, Marcel, don't do it. Moderators, I will time you out if you time anyone else out. Terry Burnett You've been timed out by Marcel off Axis FPV. Blame him. I had nothing to do with it. Shirt of the day is one of my favorites. It is fucking freezing. I've got the fire going. The fake fire going. It is just absurdly cold here in Atlanta today. I think everywhere. I think it's stupidly cold everywhere right now. Hello! In the chat. Riot9 was first. He said, suck it, nerds. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper was next. We Bleed FPV was next. What's up, Zotek? Casey Henderson, Kevin Sumner, Espander, Bulldog FPV, Danzel the Terrible 8-Bit, Robert Rosser, Ed K, McDonald Studios, not McDonald Studios, McConnell Studios, Northern Tier, Robert Garcelone, 8-Bit again, Ed K, Quadbod, Espander, Stream Elements has arrived, Slow Entropy, McConnell Studios again, Brandon's Baked Beans, MJ, Bob Noxious, Kevin Sumner again, Brandon's Baked Beans again, Ed K again, Vision, Big Tom, GJP FPV. There we go. Thank you, Mouth, for cooperating. Kiz Bartlett's in the house. Dan Richmond, Envy of the Birds, License to Drive, Denzel the Terrible, Robert Rosser again, Morton Upshot, Bobby Bags, Denzel the Terrible, Four Little Pigs, Terry Burnett, Thurnberg, Bobby Bags again, Jay-Z, Flexo 3D, trying to sort through the repeats to not say the same people's names over and over and over and over again, but also try to not miss people. Because I love you guys. Envy of the Birds, Flush FPV, Marcel Off Axis, Athix, Ethan W, Ohm FPV, Remy Tim's in the house. What's up, Dan? How are you, brother? I think I got everybody. If I didn't get you, it sucks. Kidding. If you want to talk directly to me, all I gotta do in the chat is type my name or anybody else's name. If you want to talk directly to somebody, if you type their name and you spell it correctly, it'll highlight in orange like that, and then they'll know damn well that you're talking to them. Alright. Fine now. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper tagged me, said, what's up, friend? Hello, gangly gang. How's everyone doing this freaking cold Sunday? Casey Henderson says, hey, buddy. Shogun FPV subscribe. Thank you, homie. This is my full-time job. If you'd like to help me out, subscribe to the channel, click the thumbs up, leave some comments. If you're watching this not live, leave a comment and I'll get to it. Every once in a while, I remember to go back to previous streams and read through all the comments live on stream. So if you have a question or just anything, put it in there, and you'll get your 14 seconds of pseudo fame. It's not real fame because, you know, only a couple hundred people watch these streams, but that's okay. You know, we're a nice tight-knit group. You guys support me enough for me to keep doing this, and that's what matters. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com to keep this train rolling. Somebody needs to subscribe to the Patreon today because we've been on a hot streak. We didn't actually get a subscriber on Friday, but somebody upped their tier, and the previous stream we had 2 new patrons, so we're gonna fudge the numbers. Somebody has to join the Patreon here tonight, though. It only costs 10 cents a day, $3 a month. I swear to God, it's worth $3 a month. You're gonna love my nuts, you're gonna love my content. It's all good stuff. Patreon is what helps me out the most. So, hey, also tomorrow is a giveaway stream. So right now is an awesome time to jump onto the Patreon. $5, $10, and $20 tiers will get you entered in to win some stuff tomorrow night. $5 a month is for the Tiny Whoop and Toothpick tier. $10 a month is for the 3-inch micro brushes and Cinewhoop parts tier. $20 a month is the 5-inch tier. This way, if you only fly 5-inch, you can only get entered to win 5-inch stuff. It also reflects what it costs me to buy a lot of the stuff that I give away. So yeah, by doing the $20 a month tier, you're gonna win more, like a higher dollar value in stuff. Usually like between $50 and $100 worth of stuff every other Monday that I do in the giveaways for the 5-inch tier, and then it kind of rolls down. You know, 3-inch parts are less expensive than 5-inch parts. Tiny Whoop parts are less expensive than 3-inch parts. There's also a bunch of affiliate links. For the love of God, when you do your Christmas shopping on Amazon, because I know you're gonna do your Christmas shopping on Amazon, you don't have the time to go out to the stores, even though you should, to support local businesses. Who's got time for that? use someone's affiliate link on each of your Amazon orders, please. It makes a huge difference. It's free money, and you know you're going to spend a shitload of money for Christmas on the Amazon. Every time you do an order, every time you check out, use someone's affiliate link. If it's not mine, use Joshua's. If it's not Joshua's, use some other content creator that's struggling their asses off to make it through. And yeah, keep making stuff that YouTube puts up here. I also have affiliate links to FPV Cycle, God's website, and a whole bunch more. They're over on CiottiFPV.com. Go there now. Here, I'll go there for you, just in case you're on your phone. This is what it looks like. Look at this. We Bleed FPV, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, God's website, Flywoo, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. Those are all of them. There's all kinds of good stuff here, though. Make sure you go here, or else I'll die. Buy yourself some stickers or some hardware. I'll ship it, 4 to 5 months later. Not true. Trying to get better about Etsy. Work directly with me one-on-one. Buy yourself an early Black Friday present, and let's work together and plan out your build so that you get parts that work together and don't catch on fire. How about that? How about buying less parts that explode and don't work? Give me a little bit of money, and then I'll save you a bunch of money and time. I had either the flu or COVID or both. Well, I definitely had COVID like a month ago. I feel way better. Still not there, though. Bulldog FPV says, I'm here, and hopefully we don't get put in timeout here, too. And Bulldog's been put in timeout. Danzel the Terrible says, woot woot to the gang of the gang in CiottiFPV. I'm sorry, Bulldog. I had to. You can come back at 300 seconds. Timeout is really fun because it doesn't do anything other than you can't post for 300 seconds. Robert Garcelone says, is this a timeout room? Robert Garcelone, you've been put in time. McConnell Studios says timeout. He's been put in timeout. Oh, shit. I forgot it deletes your guys' messages. All right, I'm not going to do it anymore. Ed K says, am I still in timeout? All right, now you're back in timeout, Ed K. I got to be honest, it's really fun to put people... It's not normally... It's fun to put people in timeout when they don't deserve it. It's not fun to have to put people in timeout that actually deserve it. I can click to view the deleted messages. Denzel the Terrible says, woot woot to the gang of the gang in CiottiFPV. Robert Rosser says, hello, pleasure to be here with the Micro King again. Nice to have you, Robert. Putting you in timeout. Moderators don't put people in timeout. I don't have enough people in here to do that. If I told the moderators to put everybody in timeout, it would take about 1 minute before everybody was in timeout. I don't have a huge audience like Joshua. So moderators, don't do it. Don't do it. I just had to because I'm a child. Ed K says, am I still in timeout? Right before I put him in timeout. McConnell Studios said timeout right before I put him in timeout. Robert Garcelone said, is this the timeout room? Right before I put him in timeout. I'm going to stop now. I just had to. It's just funny. It's I don't know. Ed K says, pull up a stool. LOL. It's one of the comments that got deleted when I put him in timeout. I've made significantly more work for myself by putting people in timeout because now I have to go click view deleted message. McConnell Studios says, Wahaha. Oh, Jesus. Ed K, a deleted message says, have fun, man. Thank you, dude. Envy of the Earth tagged me and said, please don't time us out. Well, since you asked, there you go. It's Envy of the Birds. Robert Rosser says, did he almost plow those pedestrians on that dive? No, I knew they were there. I saw them coming from far down the street and just decided to mess with them. Don't do what I do. Don't mess with people. But they're kids from the neighborhood that I know, so I can play around. Bobby Bags tagged me and said, what's up? Are we hip thrusting today? That's my favorite. What? Four Little Pig says, morning. Denzel the Turbo says, somebody time out that CiottiFPV guy already. See if you can time me out. Just one moderator. Brandon's Baked Beans, see if you can time me out. I just posted in the chat. I assume that you guys can't. I assume that moderators can't time out the main person, but I'm very curious if you can. Denzel the Turtle says, no, we got that. All right, here we go. Envy the Birds with a deleted message says, but I don't want to be timed out. YouTube just did the thing, scrolling back up. Brandon's Baked Beans dropping the CiottiFPV.com link. Thank you, brother. And I'm almost caught up. Whenever I need to get caught up on chat, I'm just going to time everybody out from now on. Keep it somebody says, I forget your nose in the corner and stay there. Shogun FPV with a really good question. He didn't tag me, but it's a good question that I just happened to see. He says, would it be smart to limit motors on a Mobula 7 1S for indoors or just get better? To be honest, the Mobula 7 is too heavy for like really accurate indoor flying. In terms of flying indoors, like, yeah, you got to just get better. Like, even I suck flying indoors, and like, I'm pretty good. Flying indoors is incredibly difficult. So the big thing for flying indoors is, yes, just get better. More stick time. But you're not doing yourself any favors with a 75mm rig trying to fly indoors. They're just too heavy. The biggest thing that you can do to make indoor flying more realistic is to lighten the rig up. And one of the best ways to lighten a rig up is to go with a smaller motor rig. 60-foot, the Mobula 6 ELRS with 0702 motors, that's about as good as it's going to get. You could technically lighten that rig up a little bit, but you're going to sacrifice durability. As it sits, that rig is really like as light as it's going to get with good durability. So yeah, that's going to be my suggestion. Unfortunately, you can't take that Mobula 7. If it's a Mobula 7 1S ELRS, you can't just frame swap it, unfortunately. That flight controller, that AIO that's in that rig you've got, is oversized, and it only fits in that Mobula 7 frame. So that rig is going to be better for like outdoor stuff. Although, to be honest, I like the Mobula 6 even better for outdoor stuff. So, but yeah, maybe that's your outdoor whoop, and now you've just justified how to spend another $100 for Christmas, and hopefully get it from somewhere that I have an affiliate link to, like WeBleed FPV. I think they have them. I think WeBleed has a bunch of bind and flies. So yeah, there you go. Really good question. Jay Barnes says, what's up, CiottiFPV and Collective? Matthew Vegas says, I didn't get timed out by Joshua Barnrow. Can you do that for me? My pleasure. I mean, if you ask me, I'm gonna fucking do it. Like I'm gonna stop doing it at random. But I mean, if you specifically ask me, then you know, I aim to please. So you know. Remy Tim says, I can report you to YouTube, though, so I did that. You fucker. You better not have. FamG says, the hat. Love the hat. Thank you, dude. Yeah, I'm just freezing. I'm freezing balls, even with the fire on. This is a Life is Good hat, this company, with this stupid logo. It's a really funny hat. I will say, this hat is... I love the way this hat looks from the front, but I don't like the way it looks from the back. It's like too round from the back. I don't know. I think it looks stupid from behind. So whenever I wear this hat, I just keep my back to the wall. Wherever I go, I just... So, there's that. Which is weird. I get some strange looks. It's hard to do in the grocery store, but you stay on an aisle and you got to go all the way down because you can only see the other side, and then you quickly turn around and then you come all the way back on the other side and you can look. And then when you have to grab something, you got to ask someone for help. You say, "Hey, can you come grab this for me? I can't. Can you grab it?" and then they grab it and they bring it across the aisle to you, and you put it in your cart, and then you do another one of these down the rest of the aisle. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to shop like that, but it's worth it. Casey Henderson says, as soon as my disability starts, I'll definitely be a patron, help you support monthly as I am building up my own, and one day I hope to become a patron. I hope you become my Patreon too. LOL. Love it, Casey. Much appreciated. Send me your Patreon link. I'll see what you got going on. Athix says, Heads is a champ at flying indoors with a 75. He is, in my opinion, because I've done 75 millimeter builds that are lighter than his, and they're still not as easy to fly indoors as lighter weight rigs. He's just that good. He's just that good of a pilot that he can take a rig that is, to me, and everybody that I've ever talked to, harder to fly inside because it's heavier, and do the stuff that he does with it. There is an element of, like, just sometimes something about a build will, like, connect with your brain, and yeah, just, like, you're better at flying it. I've never been able to, like, explain or understand that. It's happened to me before, but it certainly has not happened with 75 millimeter rigs versus 65 millimeter rigs. So yeah, I don't know. JZ1234 says, EMax EZ Pro a good indoor drone? Sort of, but the problem with it is going to be that it's not an upgradable setup. So you're gonna spend a bunch of money on it, and you're stuck. You can't change it down the road. You can't grow with it. So basically, at some point, you're gonna outgrow it, and then you're gonna have to sell it at a loss and buy a bunch of new stuff. Although at that point, what you would try to do is buy a bunch of used stuff, right? Because then you don't lose your ass as bad, right? Because you're buying someone's. But the problem with that is you're buying used stuff. It could be mangled. So yeah, it is really tough for me to recommend. I have a really hard time recommending any EMax stuff at this point because with pretty much everything they make, somewhere they do something proprietary. It's not actually everything, but like most of what they sell, somewhere in that rig, there's like a proprietary bolt pattern or a proprietary AIO or a proprietary propeller. And when that's the case, you can't upgrade it, you can't repair it with anything other than their stuff. Like, what if they, this industry moves fast, stuff gets discontinued like every 6 months, it feels like. What happens when they discontinue it and you can't even get replacement parts, right? So, yeah, like, EMax is tough. Some of the stuff that they make is really decent, but the fact that they lock you in is a big ask. So yeah, my very first rig was an EMax Baby Hawk, the old school white plastic one. And through sheer force of will, I completely rebuilt the damn thing in a whole different frame with a whole different canopy. And it was a nightmare because everything was non-standard. But through like unbelievable stubbornness, I was able to upgrade and update and whatever it. So yeah. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes like they manage to lock it down so much that you won't even be able to update it or upgrade it. In the process of doing so, if you force to do that, you're gonna have to like modify everything, and it's just kind of it just doesn't make much sense. So if I was going to get the EZ Pilot Pro, instead, I would get a Mobula 6 ELRS and then get yourself a set of used Fat Shark goggles, maybe a used QX7 transmitter. yeah, you're going to spend a lot more money that way, but you're going to have gear that has much better resale value. If you get a used QX7 and a used set of Fat Sharks, you will be able to sell those for exactly what you paid for them. This EZ Pilot Pro for $240, if you try to sell this kit, you'll be lucky if you can get like $150. I have a funny feeling you're only really going to be able to get like $100 out of this kit for selling it, just because it's like such a beginner's kit. It's box goggles. It's a tiny little transmitter that might be like specific to this. So yeah, if you have a little bit of extra money to spend, because a used set of Fat Sharks and a used QX7 is going to probably cost more than the total price of this kit, you're going to get more money out of it. The concern, right? The concern when starting, I'm assuming that you're starting if you're looking at a starter's kit like this. The concern is I don't want to spend a bunch of money and then I can't fly, or I don't enjoy it or whatever. As Tommy Brickler just said, and you'll enjoy it, so don't worry. It's true. The main concern with FPV is that you're not stubborn enough. If you're not stubborn enough, the 30th time that something breaks, you're going to go, fuck this, I can't do this, I'm so sick of repairing these, and you're going to bail. If you bought a bunch of really good quality used gear, you can bail and get pretty much all of your money out of it. And that's a better situation than getting a bunch of like starter kits and then you get banged because you bought them new and nobody wants starter kits. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. The problem with my suggestion is it's going to cost you probably at least 2 times as much, maybe even 3 times as much. As a little starter kit like this. Maybe not 3 times as much. Not 3 times as much. At least twice as much, though. So, but yeah, you're going to have stuff that you can sell used a lot easier, and you'll get a bunch of money out of. So that's definitely going to be my suggestion rather than this EZ Pilot Pro. And the original question of, is the EMax EZ Pro a good indoor drone? I'm going to say no, because the frame design is very heavy on that, and I know that those the standoffs for the top plate, these standoffs here, I know that these break. And when these break, Jesus, like you got to unbolt all them. It's not going to be as easy of a rig to work on as a Mobula 6 is. And with a Mobula, and you can't upgrade this. With a Mobula 6, if you manage to break the Happy Model frame, you want to replace that with a Meteor 65 frame, and those fucking things are unbreakable. So with one repair on the Mobula 6, you've got a rig that, like, I haven't been able to break them, and, like, sometimes it seems like I'm specifically trying to break the goddamn thing. So, I as far as an indoor rig goes, I just can't recommend anything other than a Mobula 6 ELRS. To me, it's just fucking magic. It really is a whole different world of like flying inside. And like, I've tested an awful lot of stuff over the last 6 years. And this is a whole, like, if everything else has been like here, it's like, it's off the goddamn screen, yo. So yeah. CiottiFPV says, toothpicks connect with my brain better. There you go. I think everybody that I timed out should be back. Brandon McBean says, EMax Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle with the non-standard motor mount and the non-standard AIO mount. Shake my head. Yeah, man. I know that EMax says that they make stuff proprietary so that they know that when you repair something, you're going to get a good quality replacement piece that they've made. The problem is they don't make the highest quality stuff. They also don't make the lowest quality stuff, so they're kind of right, but there's better stuff out there. And that, to me, like, that whole argument only really works if your stuff is, like, absolutely a cut above. Like, I can't agree with, like, yeah, we made this proprietary because our stuff is the best. Like, okay. Not like, yeah, we made this proprietary because our stuff is just okay. So, yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it. All that being said, I actually really like EMax, and every once in a while they send me stuff for review, so I should probably not be talking shit on them, but I'm just being honest. And, you know, if quite frankly, if a company stops sending me stuff for review because I was here on a live stream being honest, then that's not a good relationship between me and that company. And, like, cool, I get it. I deserved it, and they deserve not to have me, you know, reviewing and working with their stuff. Not a good business. And on today's stream, we talk about how to not be a good business person. We talk about how not to run a business. Casey Henderson says, JB says I should. So, what do you think about me canceling my order of 4 Crazy Pony PH 2.0 for $24 and instead get BT 2.0 Pigtail for my EZ Pilot Pro, newest Tiny Hawk, and get BT 2.0 1S battery? Yeah, definitely. I'm a little bit lost, but here's what I'm going to say. If you've ordered anything PH 2.0, definitely cancel that order. BT 2.0 is so much better. It's not a little bit better. It's a lot better. So yeah, if any of you guys have ordered anything PH 2.0, cancel it and get BT 2.0 and make the switch. It's well worth it. It's not that hard to solder the BT 2.0 leads on. You'll figure it out, and it's just well worth it. It's well worth it. Yeah, so I would definitely say cancel that. Infinity Loops is in the house. What's up, Head? What's up, Head? Jesus. 8-Bit says CiottiFPV is being stubborn and won't give 75mm rigs their respect. Not true. Infinity Loops is not a good fun, man. Not true. Head from Infinity Loops is the reason that I have spent so much time trying to give 75mm rigs a chance. I've spent way more time than I should, and I've said this on multiple occasions when I've tried the 15th different motor setup on them. I like anybody who's been around a lot, watching specifically Whoop Wednesdays over the last probably about a year now, will tell you that I have given 75mm rigs so many chances, and at the end of the day, every single time, they're heavier. Like, I've gotten them to fly really good. The best I've ever gotten was basically a Mobula 7. Well, no, it ended up being like a full... There's not like a bind and fly that I then upgraded, which makes sense. Basically, it's... Actually, there is. The best I've gotten is taking a Mobula 6 ELRS and putting it into the... to the V4 Mobula 7 frame, which is the same frame that you get with the Mobula 7 ELRS 1S. That frame is just the most durable, and it's the most solid, and it's just the best of the frames. It's not the lightest of the frames, but it's really durable, and to me, you want your Tiny Whoop to be durable because you're going to crash it a lot, and it's super annoying to fix the damn things. The AIO, that little setup, the AIO is lighter than the setup that comes in the Mobula 7 ELRS. And then I switched it over to EX 0802 30,000 kV motors. And it had great power. It almost had too much power. Swapped it over to BT 2.0. and I think that's about it. It was very light. Wasn't as light as 65mm rigs. It had tons of power. It had better runtime than 65mm rigs, but runtime doesn't really matter because Tiny Whoop batteries are really cheap and really quick to replace, right? You land it on your desk, pull the battery, pull it out of the bay, new battery in the bay, plug it in. It's like 15 seconds to swap a battery. Who cares about battery life on Tiny Whoops? Oh, and I ran it on 300 mAh GNB batteries that just rock, that I had to hand solder BT 2.0 leads to, which was super annoying but doable. On the battery side, it's harder than on the quad side to solder on BT 2.0. And yeah, that rig is lighter than what Heads flies. I would guess it has more power, and I played with the throttle limiting to move the power up and down to make sure it didn't have too much power. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was just heavier than the Mobula 6 ELRS builds that I do. And with the extra weight indoors, where all of the distances are tiny, right? Our doorways are only this wide. The gates that I'm trying to throw it through are only this big. You know, I'm trying to go into the gap between the coffee table and the couch that's this big. I'm trying to go under and power loop the coffee table that's like this much of a gap, right? All of the distances are like drastically shrunken down inside. And with that, when you have a little bit of extra weight, when you're flying straight and you have a little bit of extra weight and you go to turn, it's going to want to keep going. It's not going to want to just turn and rocket perfectly through the gap. This is why racers pay a lot of attention to weight and build their rigs to be as light as possible, because they're changing direction all the time, and the lighter it is, the easier it is going to change direction, because it literally has less energy, less mass to continue traveling to the direction that it was. My hope was that with the 75mm propellers being drastically bigger, not drastically big, well, yeah, they are drastically bigger. My hope was that with the 75 footprint being so much bigger than 65, that it would be a bigger parachute and it would offset the extra weight. But I absolutely did not find that to be true. You can just watch. There's tons of Whoop Wednesdays with me flying 75mm rigs, and you'll notice that I crash a lot more often with the 75mm rigs because they just keep traveling. They just, that extra weight just pulls them outwards, and I just smack into stuff. Could I maybe put enough batteries through it to get used to it? Probably, but I don't want to get used to a rig. I want the rig to work really well, and then I get used to that. I want to, right? Like, that's just sort of my deal. And the things that 75mm does better, makes more power, has more runtime, don't matter to me. I don't want more power than I can get from these 65mm rigs. I don't want more runtime. So I will sacrifice those two things that the 75mm rig does better because they don't matter to me for a rig that's a couple of grams lighter that is more accurate inside. So that's me. Like I said earlier, if there's something about 75mm rigs that connects better with your brain, I love that for you. I'm not that. And everybody that I've talked to that has really like done head-to-head testing with a Mobula 6 ELRS basically, and then a 75mm rig has said the same thing. They crash less often, and it's just more accurate because it's lighter weight. So yeah, do with that what you may. Buy what you want, but that's been sort of my experience. Michael D says, the EZ Pilot is more racing than freestyle type of whoop, not well designed for flippity flops. Yeah, I can see that because it's going to be very underpowered and whatnot. I think, though, for racing, the Mobula 6 is going to be way better because it's going to be quite a bit lighter. Athix says, I miss Robot Lady. Who's Robot Lady? Jay-Z says, thanks, you're certainly welcome. Glowstick Spinning says, you're right, I started with the EZ Pilot. I wish I would have gotten better, something better, I think, is what Glowstick Spinning. Welcome to the club, Glowstick Spinning. We've pretty much all done that. I don't know many people who made a good decision with their very first rig. That's pretty rare. It's significantly less rare now because the bind and flies are so much better nowadays. But yeah, folks that have been in this hobby for a while, the first rig that they bought was always a horrible decision. You know, you don't find Joshua's channel, you don't find this channel before you buy your first rig, right? You see something cool, and then you do a Google search or two, and then you're like, oh yeah, I know this is definitely it for me, and you just get it, and it's so yeah. That's it gives you a good story to tell when the inevitable story comes up of what your first rig was. A lot of times it turns into like a little miniature contest, like who bought the worst first rig. So there you go. God damn it, YouTube did the thing again. Here we go. Infinity Loop says, love your hat and face. Good day, sir. Thanks, dude. Everything Ham says, Newbie Drone is way worse than EMax when it comes to proprietary bullshit. I disagree. The only thing Newbie Drone does proprietary... Well, that's not true. They do proprietary motor plugs, which are a real pain in the ass. I gotta be honest. EMax does the same thing, though. EMax uses the JST 1.0 plugs as well, so that's a wash. Newbie Drone uses standard AIO mounting, which is a big thumbs up from me. And EMax doesn't always do that. Newbie Drone uses standard motor mounting sizing, which EMax does not do. Newbie Drone uses standard propeller mounting, which EMax does not do. They both use proprietary like camera plug-in nonsense, and EMax uses proprietary VTXs that are like a daughter board that sits up on top, which sucks. Newbie Drone puts the VTX on the AIO, which is a huge thumbs up for me. Or not always. Sometimes they have a camera with a piggybacked VTX, and then they use a proprietary plug onto the AIO. But Newbie Drone does sell that plug, so you can buy that plug from them and direct solder up a different camera. I don't know if EMax does that. I don't think EMax does that. So I actually think EMax is worse with proprietary stuff, but it's a toss-up. They're both doing it, and I don't like it. I will say this though: they both they both do not hide the fact that they are making stuff for beginners. They like this thing is called EZ Pilot, like, and. Yeah, your first rig is probably not going to be the one that you grow with forever. So, I don't know. I still don't agree. I still personally don't agree with it because FPV is just so DIY. But these two companies have like an ethos. Make it as simple as possible for beginner pilots. And that's a good thing. We need that. We need, because there are plenty of pilots that are not willing to do what we do, guys, right? Like, we are the fucking weirdos. We are the exception to the rule. Most people most people on Earth are not willing to do what we do. And a rig with proprietary stuff where you go back to EMax and you buy your replacements from them, and it's a little bit easier that way because you don't have to think about, well, is this motor plug JST 1.25 or JST 1.0? Most people aren't willing to, they're not going to get there, right? So we're lucky to have EMax and Newbie Drone. The fact that we buy their stuff and then expect to upgrade it, that's actually kind of the problem. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's our fault. It's all our fault. Just remember, it's always your fault. Mr. Huggy says, talking about toothpicks, what do you think of T-Motor's new 1S AIO? One has BLHE32 and black box. Yeah, we haven't really talked about this. T-Motor is coming out with 2 new AIOs. I'm really excited about one. The other one I kind of could care less about because it's really only for toothpicks. Hopefully this is hopefully this link will work. Okay, so here we go. 2 brand new AIOs. This one here, they're both F411s. I don't think we're ever going to get an F7 on AIO. Maybe. They're both F411s. They're both for 1S. This one is a 6 amp. This is more the Tiny Whoop AIO. Express LRS built in. VTX built in. They're putting Blue Jay on it. Congratulations. That's not a real selling point. This is rare. This is a JST. The Mobula 6 AIO, the Mobula 6 ELRS AIO is the only other one that ticks all these boxes. JST 1.25 industry standard plugs on the board. Whatever. Oh, just solder the camera. Did they not put a camera plug on it? I don't necessarily hate that. Okay, so you're gonna have to solder up a camera. Not that big a deal. It's so easy on the Tiny Whoops. Let's not get hung up on that. It's very easy to solder the camera on. I actually kind of don't like the camera plug on the Mobula 6 because it comes really close to the frame. And that's not good. You want to keep those frame vibrations isolated from the flight controller. So there's actually a chance that this might fly better. I don't think so because I can crank the PIDs all the fucking way up on the Mobula 6 ELRSs, and they're totally fine. And I don't run the filters super aggressive, but I don't really think you need to. But all that being said, this might actually isolate itself from. This will isolate itself from vibrations better because it doesn't have that plug on the side. Technically speaking, you don't have to use that plug. You can direct solder to the Mobula 6 ELRS, so it's kind of nice that the Mobula 6 has the plug option if you don't feel like it. But not a deal breaker because it's 3 wires, solder them on real quick and you're good to go. Here are a couple of big question marks about this AIO. The location of this Express LRS ceramic antenna here is, hold on, see it there? Is that going to interfere with your canopy that you choose? I don't know. If it does, break it off and direct solder a little piece of antenna wire or just a little piece of wire to whichever pad is active. We've been doing that on the Mobula 6 boards lately. Is this location for the VTX antenna gonna work for you? What I love about this board is that it has motor solder pads in addition to the plugs. I'm pretty sure that the Mobula 6 boards don't. You could technically, I mean, they have the holes that they used. Yeah, they don't. They have the holes that you used for the plugs, and you can technically solder into those holes, but holy shit, are they close together. So this is going to be a much better board for someone that wants to direct solder motors. Pad placement in the rear here is interesting. Hopefully it doesn't interfere with canopies. I just don't know. I would need to build one. This is from T-Motor, so I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be better quality than Happy Model. That's a huge thumbs up. Maybe this is even made by Acon. I have no clue. If this is made by Acon, fuck everything else. This is the one you want because it's going to be amazing. I think it's got a MPU 6000. Let me see. 6 amp ESCs, that's what they're all using now. That's what all the tiny little lightweight Tiny Whoop boards are using. Hopefully the ELRS is tuned properly. Hopefully this isn't one of the ELRSs that doesn't bind. I have to assume that it does. T-Motor makes good stuff. Not that they're making this. They're having someone else make this for them. The VTX is interesting. It's a 25 milliwatt or 50 milliwatt VTX. So if you want to fly long range with your tiny whoop, which you shouldn't, this is not the one for you. Fly your tiny whoops inside, and inside, in my opinion, you want 25 milliwatts because the multipathing is a nightmare, and higher power ratings make... Oh my god, has Duke been outside this whole time? Oh my god, Duke's been outside for like an hour. Oh, I'm so sorry, buddy. Your mama let you out. Oh my god. Oh, buddy. Thank God you've got a coat on. Oh. I let Duke in. Has he been outside this whole time? Oh, whoops. Oh, man. I'm sorry, buddy. Glad I'm not the one to let you out. I'd feel terrible. Shit. Yeah, it's for real been like an hour. He's got a coat on. He's fine. What else? Yeah, I'm really excited about this board. I really am. I have plenty of the Mobula 6 ELRS boards right now, so I'm not going to rush out and buy one of these because I don't really need one right now. But, oh no, it's a BMI 270 gyro, which is good. The BMI 270 in Spatz's testing has been outperforming the MPU 6000. So that's actually really nice. Yeah, man, this might be it. This might be the best of the tiny whoop boards. That weight seems a little heavy, 6.7 grams. Let me weigh the Happy Model X12 AIO here. Yeah, so this is a heavy AIO. The Happy Model X12 AIO, which is heavier than the AIO that comes with the Mobula 6 ELRS. This one here is 5.3 grams. So this T-Motor AIO is heavy, unless that weight includes the power cable. If that weight includes the PH 2.0 cable, then it's probably going to be heavier because it's with higher quality boards. They typically put thicker PCBs in them and thicker ground planes. I don't know if it's actually called a ground plane, but the layer of copper that is the ground, the shared ground for the whole board. So yeah, I would suspect, I would almost guarantee you that this is going to be a little bit heavier than the Happy Model AIO, which actually does matter. So that's a bummer. 6.7 grams. That better be with the power cord. Hell, it might even be with the VTX antenna. But yeah, everything else about this is really exciting, and it's from T-Motor. So that's the one. That's the Tiny Whoop AIO. This is basically a toothpick AIO, if you ask me. F411, 1S only, 13 amp ESCs, so you can put bigger motors on it. BL Heli 32. This is one of the two big amazing things about this. BL Heli 32, very rare. The other really exciting thing about this AIO is black box. Very, very, very rare for any of these little 1S AIOs to have black box. So if you're gonna build a 1S toothpick, which I don't think you should because I hate the way they fly, I think this is the AIO to have for a 1S toothpick. I don't really think that this is for tiny whoops because it doesn't have a built-in VTX. So this pisses me off right here. They've got a picture of a tiny whoop that can't possibly be using this AIO because this AIO does not have a VTX in it, and yet this Tiny Whoop does not have a VTX anywhere. So, you know, the camera signal would just be hanging out in the AIO and not going anywhere. So I don't know what they have. I mean, this is just a picture of a Tiny Whoop with the other AIO that we were just looking at. Does it have... I don't even think it has a receiver, does it? It doesn't have a receiver on board either. So yeah, this is a Tiny Whoop with no external receiver and no external VTX. If you're going to build a Tiny Whoop that's going to have an external receiver and an external VTX, it's going to be a fat-ass Tiny Whoop. And it's hard to package that. It's hard to find a spot for both an external receiver and an external VTX on a tight little Tiny Whoop. You end up with, like, you know, the VTX VHB to the AIO and then the receiver VHB to that, and then you've got this big tower of stuff that's going to vibrate around, and just it's just kind of a mess. Your better bet is to VHB them to the back of the camera, but then it's like getting thick. You've got like the camera board, then the VTX, and the thing. Maybe you've got a camera. A better bet would be to get a camera with the camera VTX combo pinned together. That's kind of annoying because when, not if, that VTX blows up, you got to replace both the VTX and the camera, and I've not had good luck with those. It's been many years since I've had those, but yeah, I don't think this is... Don't build the Tiny Whoop with this AIO, in my opinion. I guess unless you're building like a really high power 1S Tiny Whoop. But yeah, this is a toothpick AIO. Nice pads for direct soldering motors. Black box, which is amazing. BLHeli 32, which is super cool. Look at that! It even comes with a BT 2.0 power cable. That's rad. So yeah, just put that directly on. Don't screw around with that PH 2.0 nonsense. Although with a toothpick, most of the batteries you're probably going to want to run are going to be PH 2.0, so you're going to want to convert those over to BT 2.0. It's even more important on a toothpick than a Tiny Whoop. So, yeah, really cool AIO, but because it's got a black box chip, that takes up some space on the board, and because it's got the 13 amp MOSFETs, they take up extra space on the board. There was no, I can almost guarantee you there was no, and because it's BLHeli 32, I can almost guarantee you there was just no room for ELRS or a VTX. So yeah, it's a toothpick board. Really exciting though that we've got two new, more than likely really high quality AIOs. That's a good thing. Heads from Infinity Loops helped me out to understand, we talked about this on last Whoop Wednesday, the weight difference between these T-Motor M0802 22,000 and 25,000 kV motors. We talked about how I thought that I had caught T-Motor being lazy and not retooling their machine between these two motors, because the 22,000 kV motor is heavier at 2.04 grams, according to GetFPV specs, than the 25,000 kV at 1.93 grams. I'm not going to get into what that means. Just go back to last Whoop Wednesday if you want to know more about what that specifically means. Heads has both of these motors. This is a bad Photoshop. You can kind of tell. You can kind of tell that they Photoshopped this down here from black to blue. Because in actuality, this 25,000 kV motor here is a two-piece bell. As we can see, the bottom of the bell is black, the top of the bell is blue. The 22,000 kV version of this motor is a one-piece bell. This is not it. Head sent me a picture of it. They actually don't have a picture of a proper picture of the 22,000 kV motor, because they don't have a single picture here of a one-piece bell M0802 motor. So huge shout out to Infinity Loops for sharing that knowledge with me. And kind of I don't know if GetFPV did this Photoshop or T-Motor did this Photoshop, but whoever did that, a little bit of kind of shame on you, because this is not representative. This is not what you'll get. Luckily, you'll get arguably a higher quality version. So that they're giving you the correct weight. They're telling you that the 22,000 kV motor is going to weigh 2.04 grams. Oh, for those of you that don't know, a one-piece bell is always heavier than a two-piece bell. So luckily, they're telling you that the 22,000 kV motor is going to be heavier. And then when it arrives, it's going to be a one-piece bell. So it's going to weigh the same that they sold you, but it's going to have a more durable bell. So I can't like ding them and say like, shame on you, you're going to send somebody a product that's worse quality. They're actually sending you a product that's better quality than the specs that they sold you on. So yeah, there's that. Shout out to Infinity Loops on that one. Speaking of, Infinity Loop says, how heavy were your 75mm builds dry? I don't remember, but on one of your live streams that I was hanging out on, I told you what my build, I asked you what your builds are dry, you told me, and I was like, wow, I've been able to get mine down 2-point-something grams lighter than yours. I had always assumed that Heads was flying lighter 75mm builds, so I kept shaving weight, and then after that live stream, I was like, well, that's it. I'm lighter than he is. And that's the biggest issue for me. So at that point, I was like, yep, I'm going to stop pushing so hard with 75 because I now have rigs that are more accurate than his, and I still don't like them as much as the 65mm builds. So, yeah. Michael D says, I started out on 75mm and stuck with them. Been flying my Mobula 60RS more often and finally have seen the lighter weight of a 65mm. I can fly acro much better in the house. Yeah, when you move, I should mention this more often, but if you're flying around the house in horizon or angle mode, you're not going to notice it as much. When you switch to acro in the house, whoo boy, it is difficult, man. It is incredibly difficult to fly acro in the house. If you can fly acro in the house, you're doing something right. Like, just the ability to actually do it is a really big deal. Then to try to do inverted, yaw spins through a set of gates into a Matty flip back through a cube, it just becomes absolutely ridiculous to be able to do any of that, and there aren't many people that can on Earth that can do that. So yeah, like a lot of the Tiny Whoop advice that I give you guys is like really, really high level stuff. But I think that it scales. I really genuinely do think that it scales. And if you're going to fly acro inside, to me, you need every possible benefit that you can get, which is why I'm so like emphatic about it and I'm so shouty about it. So yeah. Abraham says, oh no, we got that. DLIMI Driss says, is it okay to run 4S motors on 6S lipos with a throttle limit, or does it have a downside? There are some subtle downsides. The biggest downside is reliability. You do not want to do that on, I'm just going to say it, you don't want to be doing that on a non-Acon ESC. Apparently the brand new Foxeer ESCs are really good quality. I can't speak to that. I haven't run one of them yet personally. The better thing to say is you don't want to do that on an ESC that's not top shelf. Doing that is just harder on the ESC. I did it for over a year. I had two completely identical 5-inch glides. One of them was on 2400 kV motors, motor scaled down to 60%. The other one was on 6S kV motors, 1950 kV, motor scaled down to 80, 85%, whatever the math works out to. And I would take those two rigs and I wouldn't do a fully blind test. I wouldn't have someone else there plugging them in, but they were pretty much identical builds. I think like one of them was on an Acon branded 20x20 ES flight controller. The other one was on a T-Motor branded 20x20 flight controller. the T-Motor ESC is made by Acon. I'm sorry, flight controller is made by Acon. You look at them and you're like, yeah, they're identical. One of them's yellow, one of them's black, one of them says Acon on it, one of them says T-Motor on it, but they're completely identical. All the chips are in the same spots. Everything is in the same spot. It's very obviously. And there's a couple of T-Motor things. T-Motor's high-end stuff is made by Acon. I don't know that for a fact. Just trust me on this. It's made by Acon. It just is. So, yeah, these two rigs are, for all intents, not intensive, for all intents, INTENTS, and purposes, not intensive purposes, don't say that. If there's someone smart around, they will roll their eyes and go, oh, I thought it was intensive purposes for, like, until my 20s, I think. For all intents and purposes, they are fully identical rigs, but with a huge difference in motor scaling. Over and over and over and over and over again, I would go out and fly those rigs, and eventually I forgot which one was which, and I would just plug a battery in, fly the rig. At some point, I would plug a battery into the other rig and fly that rig. I could never tell a difference. No difference in runtime. There were times where I would specifically run them back to back, one then the other, then one then the other, then one the other, and then I would also play around with a whole bunch of batteries on one and then switch to the other. I could never tell the difference. Not once in over a year of doing that could I tell a difference between the rigs. So, in my opinion, it's totally safe to do as long as you're using a good quality ESC. With Acon 35 amp ESCs, I never blew up an ESC on the higher kV motored rig. But absolutely, that rig was under more stress. That ESC was under more stress. So if possible, run 6S kV motors on 6S batteries. But if you have a good quality ESC, you can absolutely do it with the motor limiting, and you should be totally fine. ESCs are less expensive than motors. I don't know. You can sell your motors, use that money to flip over into the 6S quality 6S motors, and then that'll make your ESC last longer. What I would do is do it and fly the rig hard and break the motors. And don't replace the motors with 2400 kV. One by one, replace the motors with the 6S kV motors. And the first time you do that, you actually no longer need to use motor limiting. So you got 4 2400 kV motors on the rig. You go out and you bang one of them up. You replace it with a 1800 or 1900 or 1700, whatever motor. And you don't even have to stick with the same motors. You can get a whole different motor, but get it in the lower kV. And then take your motor limiting off. What's going to happen is your PID loop runs at either 4 or 8,000 cycles per second. That's what the 4K and the 8K numbers mean. Even at 4,000 cycles per second, with one motor on there that's a lower kV, when you rocket the throttle up as fast as you can, the PID loop is running at 1/4000th of a second. It's going to put power to the motors. It's going to notice that one motor is not winding up as fast, and it's going to limit the other 3 motors. You're going to have your own little motor. You're going to have like a mechanical motor limiting, basically. And you're not going to tell the difference. This is one of the beautiful things about the PID loop. This is one of the ways that you can really tell how fantastically amazing our PID loops are, is that they're able to do that. You can even go, if you decide you want to go from 2207s to 2306s, just get a 2306, put that on one corner, and now the whole rig is going to perform like that motor, because the PID loop is going to pull those other motors down to what that, basically your least powerful motor is going to be what the rig performs as. So that's going to be my recommendation. Do it for now, fly it hard, start breaking motors, and one by one you replace the motors. But remember, when you replace that first motor, you can take that motor limiting off, and then you'll be able to feel what that motor is going to fly like. It's actually not a bad idea It's actually an interesting way to like test a set of motors. It's not a perfect way because it's relying on the PID loop to pull those other motors down. So it's not going to be quite as good, but that is a damn good way to test motor performance. You would need to make sure that your other 3 motors are more powerful. With better response time, but typically more power comes with better response time. And to be really honest, you're like, the difference that you're going to feel in motors is going from a 2306 to a 2207 or a 2207 to a 2208. You're not going to feel a difference between one manufacturer of 2306 and another. There are people that are going to say that that's bullshit. Those people are wrong. Joshua and I did some motor testing last Monday, and it was very eye-opening. Maybe we're just both horrible pilots, but I don't think that's true. So, yeah, you're going to feel a difference when a motor has an extra 100, 150, 200 grams of thrust. And the only real way to get that is to increase the stator volume significantly, like going from a 2306 to a 2207. I think 2207s make too much power. 2306s are lighter. They'll crash better. They make less power. We don't need as much power as a 2207 has unless your rig is too heavy. If your rig's too heavy, make your rig lighter weight. Get your rig down to 700 grams. 800 gram rigs, that's crazy. Don't do that. But, yeah. There you go. There's a long answer to a short question. 8-Bit says, thanks, you're certainly welcome. Great question, Driss. 8-Bit says, wait, you don't know who Robot Lady is? I do not. Who's Robot Lady? I'm old. I'm 41 years old. I don't get things. Oh shit, I'm way behind on chat. We're not going to do any testing today. It's 4:09 already. Because I need to make the BT 2.0 cable. Hold on, let me blast through as much of this chat as I can. Stop asking good questions, chat. Save your good questions for tomorrow night. Jason Black said, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. Jason Black says, who do you think is better at timeouts, Bardwell or Zach Morris? I don't know who Zach Morris is, so I'm going to go with Bardwell. J. Drone says, on my lightweight 65mm build, my GNB 300 mAh HV batteries get just over 2 minutes. Is this about right? They do sag a lot, but on PH 2.0 at the moment. It's been so long since I've run PH 2.0. It's also been so long since I've run rolled cell tiny whoop motors that I just don't know. Get that thing onto BT 2.0 with some Weebleed FPV batteries, and you're gonna shit your pants at the difference in performance, Jay. You deserve it, my man. You have CiottiFPV's permission to spend some money. Don't listen to your wife and or girlfriend. Abraham says B-Sign OSD. What about it, Aber? Is this a continuation of the conversation about proprietary stuff from Newbie Drone? I don't mind the B-Sign OSD. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. For those of you that don't know, Newbie Drone has their own specific OSD because they don't use the giant OSD chip that everybody else uses. And their specific OSD has some cool things that it does. I will say this. Lately, one of the reasons that I've stayed away from Newbie Drone stuff is that there's something weird about their rate profile. It does not feel quite right. It's not the end of the world. It's not like terrible, but it's just not quite right. And the more I fly Mobula 6s, and the better I get, to be really honest, at flying inside, the more difficult it becomes to fly Newbie Drone. To the point where, like, I've kind of given up on the Newbie Drone AIOs for flying in the house. I have them on the tiny lifters, but I don't fly these things freestyle inside the house. For inside the house freestyle, I can't have the rate profile be any different. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Because of the fact that Newbie Drone has their own OSD chip, they have to make their own Betaflight hex, and there has to be something that snuck into their hex that they use in the rate profile with actual rates that's just not quite right, because every single time I fly a Newbie Drone AIO after having flown a bunch of batteries on the Mobula 6 AIOs, it just doesn't feel right. The rates are not right. The rates are just not right. There's just something a little bit awkward about them. I don't think most people would notice this. In fact, is there anybody in chat that has noticed this? It's kind of a specific situation where you kind of have to have you have to have a Newbie Drone and a Mobula rig that are very similar. But I've had them where they're identical, and there is absolutely a difference. And when I fly all the rest of my quads and then the Mobula 6, everything is cool. When I fly all the rest of my quads and then the Newbie Drone rig, it feels a little bit off. So, and the fact that Newbie Drone has to make their own hex, it makes sense that something would have snuck into their code on the actual rates to make something weird happen. It wouldn't make any sense that the Happy Model rigs that use Betaflight approved hexes that you get from the configurator would have something that snuck into the rate profile. So, yeah. Expander with an awesome comment. The big misconception beginners have is that the quad is the main part of the kit. So fucking true. So true. The goggles are just as important as the quad. The transmitter is just as important as the quad itself. Casey Henderson says, my PH 2.0, my Hawk has a resistor attached to the plug as well. So do I need to add it for the new BT 2.0 that I soldered on my board, or can I just lose the resistor after switching to BT 2.0? That depends on how noisy the electronics are on the on that Hawk. You can certainly try it without the resistor, especially because a lot of people smarter than me say that having the resistor attached to, right on top of the battery lead doesn't do anything. You have to have the resistor directly connected to the AIO. So yeah, I would try it without that resistor. You'll know if it's causing problems. You'll arm it and it'll fly away. You'll get weird noises. It'll be different. It won't be right. Charles Marcy, man, my lips are fucking struggling with the cold and dryness. Charles Marseille says, also by having companies as Newbie Drone and EMax making entry setups for noobs makes more people get into the game. Very true. Which gives them more money to make good parts for us custom freaks. That's true. That is very, very true. EEDoc says, does the 6.8 grams of the T-Motor AIO not concern me? We talked about that. Good call, brother. Morton Upshot says, don't you go blame mama. Kiz Bartlett says, is CiottiFPV locking kids out in the cold again? No, not kids, just dogs. Although I did accidentally lock Felix out the other day. I locked the front door before Felix had gotten home from school. So I'm down here editing and I hear bang, 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 bang on the door. Athix says, I could make a 4-in-1 rig with that T-Motor AIO. What? What's that mean, Athix? Tell me more. June Loco says, that's a high-power tiny whoop. Yeah, it would need to be. To pick up the weight of the AIO and the external VTX and the external receiver. Athix also says, XT30 on a toothpick, not PH 2.0. Yeah, very true. On a toothpick, think about XT30. I like the idea of BT 2.0 because it's lighter than XT30, and there are some really good BT 2.0 batteries. WeBleedFPV just came out with a brilliant 1S 450 mAh BT 2.0 battery, which is probably all you're going to need for a 1S toothpick. So, Abraham says, why should we care about BL32 on a 1S AIO? I know they're new, but I feel rosters show that there isn't any actual benefit from a performance standpoint. In the specific testing that Chris did, it didn't look like there was much of a benefit there. He did not test flight performance, though. And on BL32, you have the option of low and high PWM. And that has absolutely, especially on smaller rigs, that absolutely will have a flight performance increase. What else? What else does BL32 do? There's just a bunch of stuff that BL32 does that Blue Jay doesn't. There's more customization. Yeah, there's just more stuff. Is it like a game changer? Absolutely not. But low and high PWM absolutely will give you more braking torque at 0 throttle, and you can tell it to ramp all the way up to 96K at high throttle. So, well, maybe not. I don't know if you can go. I think if you do 24 low, you have to do 48 high. If you do 48 low, I think you can go up to 96 high. Fuck 96 though. Do 24 low and 48 high. That's plenty. So yeah, from a flight performance standpoint, you will get a slight difference in BL32. Abraham also says, all things being equal in price, sure, give me 32-bit, but why pay more? Michael Blade says, what's up? Ethan W says, what's your favorite ELRS Tiny Whoop, and what's your favorite 2S toothpick? I don't like toothpicks, Ethan, so I don't really have a favorite. Favorite ELRS Tiny Whoop, there's just sort of no, in my opinion, there's no competition. Mobula 6 ELRS, you put it into a Meteor 65 frame, get it with the 0702 26,000 kV motors. Eventually, if you outgrow those motors, the Weebleed FPV 0702 28,500 kV motors are brilliant. If you want even more power, the tinywhoop.com 0702 30,000s might come back in. They will come back in stock. No, who knows when. Switch it over to BT 2.0, and you're done. Like that is it. That is a Tiny Whoop that just, it's just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing how good it is. Morton Upshot says, glad to hear it. I suck at acro in the house. I was feeling bad. Do not feel bad, man. Acro in the house is so difficult. So difficult. Absolute bare minimum. I shit you not. Bare minimum, 100 batteries. When you decide to switch, what most people do, what I did, is you fly angle horizon mode indoors, and every once in a while you switch to acro. You get frustrated because you crash nonstop. You flip it back to horizon. Once you get a little bit more serious, you fly acro around the house, but then when you want to shoot a gap, you flip it into, you put angle mode on a switch, you flip it into angle mode, you fly through the gap, you flick it back out into acro mode. You fly around in the big open spaces, you find another gap, you flick it into angle horizon, you go through the gap in angular horizon, you flip it back to acro. When you decide, all right, I'm through fucking around, I'm going to fly acro in the house. I'm not even kidding. 100 batteries, bare minimum. 100 batteries of just torture. Absolute torture. You are going to crash 50 times per battery. It's going to suck. You're going to get frustrated. Remember the days of FPV where it was incredibly frustrating, and plow through, because eventually you'll get there. But it will take minimum 100 batteries to even get remotely confident flying acro in the house. It is super difficult. It is not just you. Use the lightest weight rig you possibly can. Use the most durable rig you possibly can. You're going to need it. Abraham says, in intention porpoises. Porpoises that are in tension. Oh, come on, YouTube. Just did the thing again. Oh, I'm not that bad. I'm not that far behind. Here we go. Kevin Sumner says, Ratchet wrecked is the new intensive purposes. Are people saying Ratchet instead of Wretched? I haven't heard that before. That's aggravating. Brandon's Baked Bean says, Robot Lady is the automatic voice chat thingy Infinity Loops uses on their channel. Ah, okay. Brandon's Baked Bean says, Zach Morris is from Saved by the Bell. Right. And Brandon's comment was, who's better at timing people out? Zach Morris and timing people out. What's Zach Morris have to do with timing people out? I know I should be getting this, but I'm My brain is very smooth, friends. Dan Farley says, I got some new 0702 motors with biblades. My whoop weighs 19 grams even. I don't like the feel of the biblades. Can I use triblades on 0702s? You can, but it's going to be overpropped. You're probably going to like triblades even less. What is it that you don't like about the feel of the biblades, Dan? And I'm going to warn you that I've been flying for over 6 years. I'm pretty decent. Joshua Bardwell's been flying for over 7 years. Joshua and I did some motor testing last Monday where we tried to focus on literally feel. We tried to focus on the feel of motors, drastically different motors. And in as scientific of a process as we possibly could, which I'm not going to get into, watch last week's streams if you want. We pretty much decided that flight feel is total nonsense. And there's the amount of power, and there's pretty much just the amount of power. So, fair warning, Dan. If you say anything other than the biblades don't make enough power, there's a chance you might not love what my feedback is. So, fair warning. I need to know what KV the 0702 motors are that you got. There is an awful lot of placebo in FPV. And the earlier you drill that into your head, the better. So, yeah. Fair warning. I'm very honest. I'm brutally honest. And sometimes people don't like that. And so this is me warning you of that. I'm not picking on you, I swear to God. I'm just 100% honest all the fucking time. I try to do that in life, and I really do that here. So you've been warned. Ethan W says, what's your favorite ELS tiny whoop for your favorite 2S toothpick? We just talked about that. Ramdalco says, stay warm. Thank you, dude. Preston Jeter says, I want to build a sub 250 3.5 inch or 4 inch with a Vista. What frame, motors, and stack to buy? First off, do not build a sub 250 rig that's 3.5 inch prop or 4 inch prop. It is too much propeller. It is not heavy enough. Build a 3 inch rig. At the moment, there's not a frame that well, okay, so you want to build it with a Vista. First of all, you're not going to be under 250, more than likely. The frames that are available to us right now that you're going to be able to fit a Vista, when you add those with a Vista, unless you run a motor that is not enough for the weight of the rig and you're not going to have good flight performance, you're not going to be under 250. Preston, to be honest with you, you're a prime candidate for my Fiverr job, which is build planning. I can't answer your question. The only answer that I can give you to this question is what I fly. So unless you've been flying as long as I have, unless you fly the same spots that I do, unless you crash as often as I do, unless you crash into the same things as I do, my recommendation to you right here on this live stream is going to be shit. And you're going to build a rig that I like, but there's a pretty good chance that you won't like that rig because you probably haven't been flying as long as I have. You probably don't fly exactly the same as I do. You probably don't crash as often as I do. You probably don't crash into the same stuff. Pick it up when I'm laying down. What I can tell you is the amount of money that you will spend, and this is not me selling myself, this is me being honest, I swear to God, the amount of money that you will spend on my Fiverr job for build planning will pale in comparison to the amount of money that you will spend trying to figure out building a rig with some other idiots, I'm an idiot too, some other idiot's set of recommendations, and then not liking the motors and buying another set of motors, not liking the battery, buying a different battery, not liking the flight controller. Oh, now the ESC caught on fire. This is not me being a salesperson. I was a salesperson for 7 or 8 years. But this is not me being a salesperson. This is me being dead honest with you. And you can ask folks in this chat and they will tell you. Yeah, in the situation that you're in right now, the best thing that you can possibly do to save yourself time and money is to let me spend a half an hour with you on the phone or on Skype or on Zoom or whatever. And I have a list of about 20 questions that I ask you. And your answers to all of those questions specifically dial me in on the right frame, the right motors, the right battery, the right flight controller, the right ESC, the right VTX. Well, we already know the VTX. All the things to get you a build that is customized for you rather than what somebody on the internet enjoys. Because it's completely different. Maybe you fly long range. I have no idea. The first problem is that you gave me no info in your comment, right? I want to build is all I've got to go on. I have no idea what you like to do. I don't know if you want to fly it in the house. I don't know if you want to pick a GoPro up with it. There are a ton of things that I need to know, and I can't. It takes me a half an hour, and I just can't. I can't do that for free, to be really honest with you. But I also can't do that on a live stream, especially when I need to stop streaming in 32 minutes because we have guests coming. And I haven't done the main thing, which is thrust stand testing tiny whoop props that we've been in. So, that's your best bet. I hope I hear from you because I know it's a tough sell. I know it's hard to justify spending money on not the parts to do the build. But I promise you, I absolutely promise you that if you go into it pretty much blind, which is what you're doing, without someone that can help you out with this, either you're going to end up with a rig that just doesn't fit your needs and the rig is never going to fly as good as it could for the way that you fly, or you're going to replace something on that rig at some point, and that price to replace something on that rig, be that $80 in motors, $100 in motors, or a $60, $70, $80 ESC that catches on fire because you bought the one by HGLRC and they catch on fire, the price that you would pay me is drastically less than that, and it would also help me keep doing this full time. So that's my recommendation for you. I'm just not going to recommend all the parts that you can find in previous live streams, the parts that I run, and you can build yourself an exact replica of my rig. And if you're an identical person to me in all of these ways, you're going to fucking love it. But if you're not, which you aren't, you won't. You might not know that you don't love it, but it won't be as good as it could be for you. And in my opinion, that's kind of the name of the game. If you're willing to DIY, if you're willing to go down the rabbit hole of DIYing a build and doing a build yourself, you owe it to yourself to put the right parts on it, because there is a significant difference. Also, a lot of parts blow up. And as soon as something blows up, you could have sent me that money, and I will not. I have blown the parts up. Let my misfortune and me wasting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the last 6+ years benefit from that. But I can't necessarily give that away for free. I can't just spend half an hour on the phone with everybody for free. Unfortunately, being a full-time FPV person doesn't allow me to do that. So I hope you understand. I have a feeling you do. Ethan W., I've answered your question. You gotta, if you have to rewind back, you have to rewind back. Ramdago says stay warm. Oh no, I'm back too far in the chat. Sorry. I think you only asked twice, Ethan. Denzel the Trouble says, hey everyone, there's some great nitpicks in somewhere else. CiottiFPV's Patreon joined today. That is a lie. Jay-Z says, what size capacitor is used on a tiny whoop? Tiny whoops typically don't have capacitors. You should not need a capacitor on a tiny whoop. If for some reason you do need a capacitor on your tiny whoop, the smallest one you can find. We're talking like less than 100 microfarads. But you shouldn't need one on a tiny whoop. YouTube just the thing again, scrolling back up to try to find my place. Athix says, not 4-in-1, I was saying 4-inch 1S toothpick with the 13 amp T-Motor AIO. Jesus, 4-inch propellers on 1S. If you do that, you send me the flight video. I want to see how wobbly that fucker is. Ramdango says, do you think MMCX connectors suck ass on a VTX? Why can't I think of what an MMCX connector is right now? MMCX, right. Yeah, I do. I don't like MMCX connectors. MMCX connectors, when they break, so you've got like the 90 angle, the 90, first of all, they're heavier. So you've got that big gold 90-degree angle usually thing, and then you've got the little penis that sticks into the VTX. When MMCX breaks, it breaks off with the little penis still inside. And good Lord, is that hard to get out. So yeah, a lot of times when an MMCX antenna breaks, it grenades the VTX as well, and that just sucks, man. The other problem I have with MMCX is they fall out, and there's no good way to secure them. I guess you could just put a big blob of E6000 welder on them. But yeah, I prefer UFL. It sits flat. You take a piece of shrink wrap, you put it over that holds it on there nice, and then you strain relief the antenna. You need to be strain reliefing the antenna. If you don't strain relief an MMCX antenna, it's going to unplug it, and you're going to lose your whole rig. So you need to be strain reliefing your antenna at all times. What that means is you don't rely on the plug on the VTX to do anything. You run the antenna out and you zip tie the shit, or you glue, or you should zip tie the shit out of the antenna wire to something, to a TPU mount, to a standoff. And what you should be able to do, this one is not strain relieved right now, but what you should be able to do is grab the end of the antenna and yank it good and hard, because when you crash through a tree, the branches in that tree are going to catch the head of that antenna, and they're going to pull it hard as hell. So you should be able to give that head of the antenna a good yank and not have the antenna wire pull at all on the VTX itself. And you should also put a little bit of extra wire in. When you mount your antenna, you should have a little bit, so there's the connection to the antenna, and then it goes down a little bit, and then it comes up. That little bit of extra wire, it's there so that you can see whether or not it's been pulled. Once you strain relief that antenna, you want to check on it, and you want to check on that little bit of extra slack to see how good your strain relief is. And if you look one day and there's no slack left, don't fly that rig, because you're going to crash it through a tree immediately, and it's going to rip the antenna right off the VTX, and then you're not going to be able to find the damn thing. It's a really big deal. Antenna strain relief is a huge deal. And yeah, you'll lose a rig. You'll lose an entire $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, $900 rig because of a fucking antenna getting pulled off because you didn't strain relief it good enough. It's a really, really, really big deal. Brandon, and yeah, MMCX connectors can go to hell. Brandon McPean says, I don't know, it wasn't my joke, but I think the idea is that Zach Morris did detention. Well, maybe. Ram Douglas says, chain smokers. Kiz Bartlett says, Zach Morris would say timeout and freeze the world around him. Oh, he would, wouldn't he? I wasn't a huge fan of that show. I was not a huge fan of that show. I don't know why. Probably because I was a nerd growing up, and I probably like identified with Screech, and that made me feel bad because everybody picked on him. So that's probably why I wasn't super into that show. I barely remember him saying timeout and freezing the world around him. I did grow up when that show was on, though. I'm a 1981. If I were a car, I would be a 1981. Expander says, I find it hard to fly angle mode even inside. I have a tiny place, barely fly inside, so I can't really do much freestyle inside, but angle mode is just wrong. Yeah, everybody's brains work a little bit differently. I way back when, I found angle mode way easier to fly inside. Not nearly as fun, though. YouTube just did the thing again. Oh, I'm caught up. June Logo says, what could be causing my old to flash during flight? What could be causing my OSD to flash during flight? June, I think you're a patron. Go to the Patreon. On the top of the Patreon page, click Tech Talk. That's going to only show you the articles that I've tagged with Tech Talk. There is a video noise article in there. Work through that. Somewhere in that is going to be the problem with your OSD. Ram Douglas says, got it all working. Half a flight, broken penis, but half a battery. Field search, grr. No big bucks yet. Sorry, brother. All right. Prop testing. I need to get a BT 2.0 connector. Please tell me that I have a prepped BT 2.0 connector somewhere. Please. Please, 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 please. I know that I don't, but please. I do! I do! I do! Oh, this is the wrong one, though. I need the other side. I need the other side of it. I want to power these rigs from a Toolkit RC power supply. But I need the male side. Nah, I have to make one. Well, God damn it. I hate putting... I love it. I really prefer, in my defense, in every live stream, in every title of my live streams, Q&A is always first. Q&A is, to me, the most value that I can give to you guys. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been very analytical for as much of that time as I've possibly been able to. And it helps, yeah, it helps a ton of people out. So that's why the Q&A is always like front loaded. That's why I really always do that first. I hate, though, when I title a stream something and then 22 minutes before the end of the stream, I still haven't done that thing. But in my defense, Q&A is written first in the stream title. So if you don't like it, blow me. No. Yeah. But I mean, what can I do? What is it? Round is ground on these BT 2.0s, right? Round is ground. Oh man, I need one with. Can somebody check for me? Round is ground on BT 2.0s, right? Thank you, Ram Donko. I need some wire. I just need to make this real quick like. We are going to use some 24 gauge that I just have floating around here. Thank you, Jun Loco. Okay, make this fast. And soldering irons coming up to temperature. I need to strip off a bunch, actually, for these alligator plugs. Okay, so we're going to strip off a bunch more here. Ah, shit. Now, you know what? I'm going to use red and black wire because otherwise I'm going to blow something up. Luckily, I've got some red motor wire floating around here, and I think it might even be... Nah, that's 20 gauge. Damn it. I know I have 24 gauge red wire somewhere in here. Where the hell is it? Oh, I know where it is. I know where it is. Oh man, I made a huge mess out of my wire drawer. It's gonna be in here, isn't it? Yeah, 24 gauge red wire. Come to me. That's 20 gauge. That's 18. Is this it? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but yeah, 24. There we go. I did not need to cut this. Let's put this away. Take one out of here. Is that roughly the same length? Hey, there we go. Great. Here we go. Let's cut these the same length. Strip a bunch off. And away we will go. So yeah, this is me making a BT 2.0 battery lead for the power supply that I can hook up to the little alligator clips so that we can give the Tiny Whoop a non-changing amount of current for this testing, rather than using batteries which are going to sag down, and I'm going to have to pay attention to the voltages of. All right, let's chop this down a little bit because the BT 2.0 does not need much lead on it. And then we'll strip this down just a little bit here. Awesome. Soldering to these BT 2.0s is not impossible. I will admit it's a little challenging. The best thing you can do for yourself, though, is there's a flat spot on the BT 2.0 little solder point. Turn that flat spot outwards. You can just grab them with a pair of needle nose pliers and just spin them. And yeah, spin it so that your flat spot is on each one of them is facing outwards. And that's going to make your life a lot easier. Hold on, guys. I gotta take this. Let me give you something to watch. Oh, farts. I got nothing for you to watch. Hold on. Hey there. Yeah, this is. Hey, can I? I'm actually in the middle of a live stream at the moment. Can I shoot you a text with my address?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Awesome. No worries, man. When do you think you can come by?
I'm ready to go right now.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll be done in like 15 minutes. So by the time you get here, we'll be good.
All right, great.
Thanks, dude. Later. I'm selling the other Elgato HD60, and yeah, I forgot to text the dude my address. What's my address? What's my address? Is that my address? Where am I? Where do I live? I'm gonna look up my own contact. My card. Actually, I can just copy the address. That's easy. Ooh, I'm gonna add myself to favorites. I can call myself. All right. There we go. All right, cool. Sell it live. What's up, TweetFPV? How are you, brother? If you guys aren't subscribed to TweetFPV's channel, I don't know what the hell you're doing with your life. Get your asses over there. Incredible content maker. And just all-around awesome human being. All right, so yeah, turn your little flat spots outwards, and that's going to make your life so much easier on these BT 2.0s that you're soldering yourself. All right, I'm going to use this Mass Adhesives thermally resistive putty goop stuff. We are going to tin these leads real quick and then just zap them on. Man, I am hungry as hell. I am shaking. All right, we are tinned. I do not tin the I don't tin the BT 2.0 lead itself, because if you get it too hot, the plastic starts melting. So you wanna be quick on these. Round is ground, and round is on the right. So here we go. We're gonna do that one first, and it's just real quick, man. It's gonna transfer the heat pretty fast. I need a little more light here. And I just do it by hand because it's so quick. And you just push it in there, and you'll be good to go. Shit, there's a huge blob of solder on there. Gotta get that off. Man, I am shaking like crazy. Hold on. Gotta get this gigantic blob of solder off of here. Alright, I'm gonna remove it. Get this solder off. And just redo it. Well, now it's tinned, so here we go. All right, there's one side. All Now I am actually going to tin this other side because otherwise it's just going to be a jackass like it just was. Just be quick with the tinning. Quick here, and all right, good. And drop this red one straight down. And I'm actually going to hold the black one to kind of steady the red one. You guys can't see what the hell I'm doing, but hopefully you've soldered an XT30 or an XT60 before. This is the same thing, just instead of having a cup, it just has a flat spot. So you're just soldering to the side of the flat spot, and then just take a look and make sure you didn't bridge the damn things together, and we're good to go. All right, so we've now got a cable. Give them a little tug, make sure it doesn't just pop right off, and we're all set in this case. And then we're also going to do some shrink wrap, but I don't need to do that right now. For right now, we are just going to get these into the alligator clips and get some prop testing done here. First thing I want to test is what happens with high KV 0702 motors when you, well, one of the things I want to test is, will having this cable hooked up to the Tiny Whoop make the readings from the scale inaccurate enough that we actually have to do it with batteries. So powering up the little Toolkit RC jib jab, or not. What? Oh, power strip isn't turned on. There we go, that'll help. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I gotta pick the voltage that I'm sending this. Right now it's sending 16.8 volts. We don't want that. We're gonna come down and we're gonna send, we're gonna do 4.10 volts. I'm just picking that as like a nice consistent number. I don't really care about I don't really wheel for sim racing, Denzel. Start with a T300 Thrustmaster. That's your best starting point. And then if you get obsessed, you'll replace it with a direct drive wheel. Okay, so yeah, let's see how. Let's torture test these Weebleed FPV 28500s, and let's see how they react to. Actually, no. First, what we're gonna do is figure out which one of these rigs has more. Now, let's just do the thrust testing. I only have 10 minutes. We're just going to do the thrust testing. We're going to do it on this rig here. We're only going to do it on one motor, though. We're going to use motor number 1 for all of these tests. Nah. We have time. We have time. Let's look at... All right, so who's going to be... Hey, Kiz, are you in chat? Who's going to be our... who's going to write some of these numbers down in chat? Somebody volunteer. I just need somebody to keep track of the numbers and write them down in chat, because we're going to move fast through this. So I'm going to spin up all 4 motors, and I need somebody in chat to just type into chat what the readings are for each one of the motors. So somebody volunteer. So first, we're going to leave these biblades on, and we're going to get a reading with the biblades. All right, looks like Mayan Hawk is doing it. Jesus, come on. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm flipping these props upside down. We learned on Friday that these propellers make almost triple the amount of thrust when they're spinning correctly versus when they're spinning backwards. And we're doing this testing with turtle mode. So I'm going to put all 4 of these props back on upside down, because we're using turtle mode here. High left. And then the first thing I want to figure out is which one of these motors is a little bit weak, or ESC channels is a little bit weak. So that's what I need to know from that's what Mayan Hawk is going to type into the chat, is just motor 1 was such and such. You can just put the 4 numbers, Mayan. I'm going to spin them up, motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. and the numbers are going to equalize on the screen of the scale here, and then you can just type those into chat. So it'll be like 25.6, 28.1, 21.2, so on and so forth. Just getting some of the hair off the things. Okay, so plugging. Ooh, this is creepy. Plugging the Tiny Whoop into a direct power source, which is powered off at the moment. Okay. Placing Tiny Whoop on the thrust stand, which is just a scale. Moving the leads out of the way so that you guys can actually see the thrust stand. Tearing it out. All right, I'm going to shut this off so that the numbers come through a little bit better. Okay, so it's zeroed out. If I move this cable around... Okay, so I need to make absolutely sure. So the cable moving around does affect the scale. So we just got to make sure that we tear it out in between every test, and I just pay really close attention to the cable itself. Firing up the transmitter, powering up the quad with a button. Don't blow up. Oh, well, that's not good. So when I... Let me give it a little bit more voltage, I guess. Let me give it 4.2 volts. Oh, I'm not giving it enough amperage. Oh, shit. Hold on. It's only giving it 3 amps. How do I change that on this? There we go. There's a cutoff. There's an amperage cutoff on the power supply, and it was tripping that. Now I have it up on 10 amps. I'm going to drop it back down to 4.1 volts. Well, it's not drawing 10 amps, but it's I don't know if you can hear it, but it won't boot all the way. Why? Well, now
Low battery.
I think it booted. We're in turtle mode. That was really weird. I don't know why it was doing that. Oh, we have an amp reading now, friends. We have an amp reading. That was 5 amps. Ooh, we're not going to think about that for today. We're going to do the prop testing, and then we're going to move on. So, 4.1 volts. Here we go. I'm going to do motor 1, then motor 2, then motor 3, motor 4. So that's motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. Ready? Motor 1. Motor 2. Motor 3. Motor 4. All right, drop those 4 numbers in the chat. I'm going to power the rig down. And... the best way of me doing this. I don't necessarily want to unplug this over and over again. I'm going to use the alligator clips, I think. All right, now we're going to switch propellers. Mindhawk, do me a favor. Put them all in the same message. So just do 27.7-28.5-27.4-28.8 next time. Man, they're pretty close on this rig. That's very close. 27, 28, 27, 28. Very cool. Was the scale not zeroed? Yeah, do the subtraction for me with the scale zeroed. That's actually kind of important. Here's what's interesting. Scale wasn't zeroed. Thank you, Michael D. Good catch. So somebody do that subtraction. Put them all into one chat comment. All right, we're going to go to a triblade. And I'm going to let... All right, so you guys have to do this. Do me a favor. You guys do this subtraction. I'm going to put 4 different props on. I'm going to put 4 different props on, and then I'm going to leave it up to you guys so that we can speed this up as much as possible. Now that we have the numbers on each motor and each ESC channel, I can get away with this. So somebody subtract 1.2 from those numbers and post them again. And then I'm going to put 4 separate props on, and we're going to just get to see the difference in thrust from these biblades, which fly brilliantly on these 0702s, to 4 different triblades. Fuck, I forget which one is which. That should be fine though. It should be fine because I still want props out, right? I'm confusing myself. Hold on, let me think through this for a second. I still want props out. Yeah, I still want props out. All right. Motor 3 is getting the new T-Motor triblade propeller. I need a high right. Motor 1 is going to get the HQ triblade propeller, which the top hole is not open enough to slide onto the shaft, which is super annoying, but now it should be. All right, and then motor 2 is going to be a T-Motor triblade. I am dying to know if the T-Motor, I'm sorry, Gemfan. I'm dying to know if the Gemfan triblade makes exactly the different amount of thrust as the T-Motor, because good lord do they look similar, but I think the Gemfan will make a little bit more extra. I think it'll be different. So what we're looking at now is we're just going to use the biblades as our control, and then we're going to see how much more or less thrust these triblades make in comparison. Isn't there another triblade that exists? I guess not. I guess not. No, there isn't. Okay, so that's all the triblades. There's just T-Motor and Gemfan and HQ. So I might as well throw a quad blade onto motor 4. All right. No. There's an HQ biblade. Yeah, there is an ASI doc, but I don't know where it is. I might have thrown them all away because I don't like them. This is a high left. I need a high right HQ biblade. Now let's test the HQ biblades. Oh, those idiots don't put a hole all the way through the top of the propeller. God, is that annoying. I might be able to make one. Hold on. It's probably not going to be centered, though. God damn it. HQ, come on. Is this real life? Yeah, the ASIs don't even exist in my mind because they're so fragile that like you can't crash ever. And come on, it's a tiny whoop. All you're going to do is crash. The ASIs are very efficient, but yeah, even they're so fragile that even like while I'm putting them on to the motor, they will bend. I mean, if you don't bend them while you're putting them on, you're certainly going to bend them in the first crash. So they just, I don't even consider them to be a real thing. They're a figment of your imagination, chat. All right. I wonder if that's enough to get it on the effing motor shaft. Kinda. Come on, just go. Please, just... I don't like you anyway. Just go on there. Ah, you jerk. Come on, it's 5:01 already. You're killing me, HQ. You're killing me. If you're going to do the ASIs, get the T-Motor props. I think we're going to see the T-Motor props are a little bit less thrusty than the Gemfans, but they're nice and durable. Remember here, we don't care about these peak numbers. All we care about is how these numbers relate to the biblades. Because these 0702s are not a great motor for triblades. So all we're looking at is the differential. So ignore the raw numbers that are going to be coming out of this thrust stand. All right, well, I can't get the HQ. It's wobbling so bad. I can't test it like this. Jesus Christ, HQ, get your shit together. Get your shit in a sock. Come on. We're going to do more testing on tomorrow night. Well, maybe not tomorrow night. Maybe not until Whoop Wednesday. Well, HQ just disqualified themselves because they can't put the fucking shit in the top of the prop. So we're going to test one quad blade prop, and then we're going to call it a day. Because it's after 5 already. What do I need? A high right. First high right prop. Gemfan quad blade. I'm going to drag these motors down to Chinatown. They still might make more. So for the record, these tri-blades and quad blades on these 0702s fly like ass. This is just out of sheer morbid curiosity. I got to put it this way so that you guys can see it right. And then we're going to get some alligator clip action going here. Okay. I have no idea what... listen really carefully, right? Listen to what happens when I power the quad up. It's very weird. Ready? Oh, it just powered all the way up. I don't know why it's doing that. Come on, power all the way up. Please. There it goes. I don't know why it's doing that. It's weird. Glare on the scale screen. Here we go. Ready? Motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. Motor 1. It's less. Oh, yes, it's less. That's good because these motors are overpropped right now. That's amazing. Ready? Motor 2. Motor 3. Motor 4. Interesting test results. Motor 1 is an HQ tri-blade. Motor 2 is a Gemfan tri-blade. Motor 3 is a T-Motor tri-blade. Motor 4 is a Gemfan quad blade. We need to do the subtract. The total numbers don't matter. All that matters is how many more or less grams of thrust compared to 27.7, 28.5, 27.4, 28.8. Ready, go. First person to do the thing wins. And now look at the scale. The scale's all over the place. The scale was zeroing out in between each of the tests. You know when the scale's going crazy? When I'm talking. If I stand here and talk, the scale is picking up my breath. It's not a terrible scale if it's like that. All right. That's it. That's the testing we're going to do today. We're going to do some more testing on Whoop Wednesday. Good little like proofs of concept here, though. And this rig is very well balanced. The purple rig has a much bigger variation of thrust in between each motor and or ESC channel. Who's doing that math? Yo, hurry up. I gotta turn this shit off and sell this guy this HD60. Who doing that math? Look up. What? Morton Upshot says look up. Where's it at? How many extra or how much less grams of thrust? I'll do it myself. Motor 1 was 27.7. And then it was 23.2. Huge drop from a biblade. Motor 2 was 28.5. And then, I'm not going to actually do the math. Motor 2 is exactly the same. Wow, the Gemfan biblade and the Gemfan triblade made the exact same amount of thrust. Motor 3 was 27.4, and then it was 27.5. Wow, the T-Motor and the Gemfan triblades performed pretty much identical as the biblades. Interesting. And then the last one went from 28.8 to 30.3. Wow, the HQ triblade is horrible. The Gemfan quadblade made a lot of thrust. That's pretty shocking. I gotta break this shit down though. You guys can rewind the stream and look at those numbers and try to figure things out if you want. Love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Be good. Here's something or other. Love you. Sorry that this is so rushed, but you guys ask really good questions, and that's a good thing. See you tomorrow night at 10, friends. Love you. Come on. I want to give it... Come on. Here's 1505 Ripsqueak with the Insta360 Go with stabilization. Later!